Hi guys, I'm here to go over the questions that I received about the unit review. So we'll get started with those. I may refer you to some resources that we have from the unit, but here we go. The first question is, can you explain some ways to memorize the differences between the Heartland and Rimland theories? Also, what are some examples of organic theory? So when you think about Heartland theory, first off, that's Mackinder's theory, Heartland theory, and think about the heart. So we're thinking about the heart of the continent of Eurasia. That's the inside. Okay, where do you keep your hearts? On the inside. And essentially, when you think about the Heartland theory, the idea of making that the most powerful area will allow world dominance. There's lots of resources, the availability to kind of have this fortress type protection, that kind of thing is with Heartland theory. When we talk about Rimland theory, think of the word rim. It's the rim of that mother continent, or of Eurasia. And that's where you're going to have the naval power, okay? But that's also going to let it's also going to be a lot of a wide open space to make themselves vulnerable, which is a weakness of it. But when we talk about the Rimland theory, we're talking about Spikeman's theory. And again, it's the rim, okay? Conquering the rim of the mother country, or the mother continent, which would be Eurasia, would give you world dominance. The examples of organic theory, just a reminder again that organic theory is that idea of Lebensraum, or living space, the fact that a political entity, a government, whatever, has to survive by growing and growing its space. Some of the most common things that we think about when we think about the organic theory, or the most common period of time, will be World War II, specifically Nazi Germany, and how they advanced throughout Europe and pushing in towards Russia and Asia. I would suggest that if you want to just kind of go over, there was a sheet that we worked on earlier in the unit that specifically talked about those three, and it is called I cannot remember what that particular assignment was. It was a sheet on those three specific areas on geopolitical. Give me just 1 second. I can't remember. It was a geopolitical handout that we did. Oh, that's what it was. Geopolitical force. No, that's the presentation. It was a geopolitical handout of theories and models, and I cannot remember what it was. So, but you did get a handout on that. So go back through the handouts and take a look on Classroom. The second question that we had was, how does an anocracy work, and what is an example? An anocracy is something we didn't talk about in class, but it is a vocab word. So it's kind of like when you take a little bit of democracy and a little bit of dictatorship and you kind of mash them together. And we actually have seen a rise in anocracies since 1989 in the fall of communism, when the wall came down. And what we see is there was a huge rush of them from 1989 to 2013. And what we see is, yeah, they have some democratic principles, but we see an increase in human rights violations. We also see a lot of intra-state violence. So within the country, groups can't get along. We also see a lot of instability that ends up leading into civil war. We see that this happening throughout Asia and Africa. So we see a rise of anocracies in places like Cambodia, Thailand, Burma, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Somalia, and actually in 2016, Russia declared itself an anocracy. And then we have a grouping of questions. I'll start with the first one here. First one is, can the term ethnic cleansing essentially be the same as or interchanged with genocide? And yeah, so ethnic cleansing and genocide are generally the same thing. It just depends on what word you choose, and you could look at statistics of how many people are being killed to verify whether it's quote-unquote genocide of an entire race or ethnicity, but they're generally the same thing. And then confirmation on two terms: a multi-state nation and a multi-nation state. Okay, so let's start with a multi-state nation. Okay, so what I'm talking about with a multi-state nation is a nation of people that live in more than one state. Okay, so a nation of people that live in more than one country. We see this with Koreans, Russians, Arabs, Iranians. Okay, notice that I'm putting the type of people on the end in, with saying Korean. I'm not saying Korea, I'm saying Korean. Okay, so I'm referring to the people. And when we talk about a multi-state nation, it's a nation of people that live in multiple states or countries. Okay, and a multi-nation state or multi-nation state is one state with many nations of people. So it's one country with a lot of different ethnicities or types of people. The United States is a multi-nation state. Myanmar is a multi-nation state. Canada is a multi-nation state. Okay, so think about those things. Would balkanization be considered a form of devolution? No. Balkanization is the breaking apart of a region, essentially where there was hostilities and the peoples within that region could not get along. Balkanization occurred after World War II, when the Iron Curtain area of Eastern Europe began to break apart. So that really wasn't about a colonial role. It was about the breaking up of that group of people that really weren't part of a colonial takeover. Okay? And when we talk about devolution, we are talking about colonial powers that are being changed. All right, so that was all of the questions for today. Thanks for putting those questions on there for those of you that did. And I hope that this does help as y'all are studying for the test. See you tomorrow.